Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Entrepreneur, and oh boy, there has been a lot of discussion about Arizona and Uber recently, and I expect it was coming, but the comments in my videos have been so very heated, so very passionate, which is probably a good thing, to be perfectly honest. And there's been a lot of debate about this situation, particularly who's to blame. Is Uber to blame? Is the passenger to blame? Is Uber at fault? Are they not at fault? Is this just an acceptable cost of doing business? Hey, compared to the 7,000 lives that were killed in human driving cars last year, is this one life even important? I mean, fair questions, all fair questions. I think it's interesting that people went to defending Uber after just a couple days ago we were like totally damning them for how they treated drivers. But it's amazing how fast that changes. But I think if there's one thing we can all kind of agree on, I think we can all agree on this, is that when someone dies, you don't necessarily completely stop what you're doing. You don't say, oh, someone died, it's not working, let's never look at this again. I don't think that's necessarily the appropriate response, but you do want to at least pause. You want to take a break, you want to take a step back, look at the bigger picture and say, okay, let's re-examine this. Can this be avoided in the future? Should we be doing something different? Just let's take a moment of self-reflection, if you will. I think most of us can agree that would be a good thing, right? Well, not everyone. In fact, if there is a company, who doesn't believe in taking a break and reevaluating the situation and maybe rethinking how things are done to ensure public safety? The state of Arizona. Not even kidding on that one, folks. According to this article from Reuters, first paragraph, Arizona officials said on Tuesday they saw no immediate need to tighten rules on the testing of self-driving cars in the state in reaction to a fatal accident involving an Uber autonomous vehicle that has focused attention on the safety of the new technology. Yeah, they actually said that. Yeah, someone dies. It's a new technology. We're not completely familiar with it. We don't even know what happened. But despite all the uncertainty, Arizona's confidently saying, whatever. We don't need to do anything new. We don't need to tighten the safety. We don't need to pull back. We don't need to... Really? We don't even know exactly what caused this, and you don't even want to slow down just a little bit? Oh, but there's good guys in this. Because the next paragraph, meanwhile, Toyota Motor Corporation said it will pause autonomous vehicle testing following Sunday's accident in which an Uber Technologies Inc. self-driving SUV struck and killed a woman in Tempe, Florida. I hope I'm saying Tempe right this time. And that's interesting, since when were the corporations the ones who were responsible to say, hey, let's take a break. Let's make sure we're doing the right thing here. And the state, governor, and officials who are meant to represent you, the people, are saying, sucks, whatever, life moves on. Not that I'm too terribly surprised by Toyota's response. I mean, this is a company who, at one point, the CEO was brought up by an employee, or so the legend goes, and the employee said, hey, you know what? All these car manufacturers are moving their factories from America to Mexico, and we can save this much money if we do that. Why don't we do it? And the Toyota CEO kind of thought about it and was like, well, you know what? People have been working there for many years, and, we don't want them to lose their jobs. Toyota's a pretty responsible company, from what I understand. I'm sure they've got some problems. All companies do. But that, so this response from Toyota does not surprise me whatsoever. Automakers and tech companies are evaluating whether or not to suspend their autonomous vehicle programs in the wake of the first fatality involving a self-driving vehicle. Uber said on Monday it was suspending its own program. Now, I do want to take a moment to pause and acknowledge that while all the companies are doing this, I do suspect it's not completely for altruistic reasons. They are probably waiting to see, what happens to Uber. What do the lawsuits look like? What do they stand to lose if they continue this? Because we have now found this woman has had some of her friends come forward. So she did have loved ones. And then, by the way, I got a lot of flack for a comment I made that was not accurate, where I didn't mean when I said this woman was homeless, so good for Uber. I mean, I didn't mean she didn't have any friends. It's just from my perspective, this is what Uber's thinking. Oh, good, she's homeless. Maybe she won't have anyone to fight for her. So, yeah, that was a misconstrued comment that I made, so I apologize for that. Apparently she does have friends, and the friends will be going after Uber. So all these companies are definitely going to be watching this case closely to see what they actually get from them. Because here's the thing. If every person this technology kills equals a massive let's say $20 million payout, you really will stop and think, well, you know, who knows? So I think they're pausing it just to see what happens in this case. But continuing, Toyota said it was temporarily pausing its testing on U.S. public roads to help its test drivers who could be experiencing an emotional effect from the incident. Okay? The timeout is meant to give them time to come to a sense of balance about the inherent risks of their job, the automaker said in a statement. And yeah, there is still a risk. I mean, and this is where testing the autonomous cars are probably a little bit more difficult than we give credit for. Because you're sitting in a car that drives itself, and once in a while, roughly every 3 miles from what I hear, you have to intervene. And, you know, yeah, there's probably drivers who, yeah, they kind of intervene, but you start getting sleepy-eyed, you start kind of meandering, and so now there's like, oh, by the way, you have to be paying real close attention because someone could still die. So, the statement's kind of weird, but I sort of understand it at the same time. Let's see here. Uber, along with other technology and automakers, have been testing in Arizona, which regulates autonomous vehicles with a lighter touch than neighboring states such as California. Oh, heck yeah. Obviously, they let them test with a lighter touch. The state has a long history of allowing automakers to test new vehicles on its wide open roads, and a 2015 executive order by Governor Doug Ducey paved the way for companies to test autonomous technology without interference by the legislator. Bad move. I don't care what industry it is. If you're going to be testing machines on the public road with people, you need to have some form of legislation and some sort of oversight. Which, you know, Ducey, is that his name? It's like, let's call him Douchey. He obviously doesn't have that. More than 600 self-driving vehicles are now tested on Arizona roads, according to the governor's office. On Tuesday, Arizona's Director for Policy and Communications at the state's Department of Transportation, Kevin Beastie, said existing regulations were sufficient and that the state had no immediate plans to issue new rules. Yeah. Because the death of someone does not obviously add to the urgency to regulate things just a little bit better, or maybe at least look at what happened. We believe we have enough in our laws right now to regulate automobiles, Beatty told Reuters. You have laws to regulate automobiles, not robots. Because a self-driving car is a robot, it's not an automobile. There will be issues that the legislature will have to address in the future as these become more widespread. Well, considering there's a woman dead, I think you need to start addressing them now, personally. That's what I think. During the early phase of a self-driving vehicle testing, Arizona refrained from adding new restrictions on companies testing on state roads, Bitzy said, adding they did not believe any new regulations would add to safety. I wonder if they believe that. Well, okay, clearly they believe it now. They're not going to change anything. And why would they? They don't want to protect you. They don't care about you. They want the companies to go to Arizona and test there because, hey, if they don't test there, they'll go to California. And you know what? Again, what happened here? Maybe we can figure out what happened. In fact, information is still developing. Who knows what's going to come up? You know, is it failed technology? Was it the driver? We just don't know completely yet. I mean, the more that comes out, the more Uber looks very guilty, which probably comes as no surprise to people watching these videos. No surprise whatsoever. I am personally okay if Uber crashes and burns at this point. But you know what? We still don't know all the facts, so we still have to wait a little bit. But you know what? Even though the facts aren't in that definitively prove that the car is at fault and unsafe to be on the road, the information we have doesn't definitively prove that it's not unsafe for it to be on the car. It could be safe. It could not be safe. We just do not know. And I think taking a step back and pausing would be a great, great thing for Arizona to do. They're not going to do it because, again, they don't care about you. They care about their pockets. They care about their pockets. And it's already starting to seem a little fishy that, the police so early in the investigation said, you know what, Uber's probably not at fault because the lady came out this way and it was just, really quick and no one could have seen it. And the New York Times posted a photo of the road she died on where she died. And it wasn't like she came out of a shadow. She walked across 3 to 3.5 lanes of the street. So we're just going to have to wait and see a little bit more. Hopefully that video footage will get released. Right, Governor Ducey? You're going to let that be released, right? Well, anyway, what do you folks think? Do you think it is responsible to pause on the driverless car initiative? Or do you think, you know what, it's only one person, keep going forward. That's the sign of progress. I'm saying that, and I know I'm being very snarky, but in all seriousness, do you think this should delay progress? Or do you think maybe progress can wait another week before we find out what's going on? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy the videos I make, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's $1 a month. And as always, flame responsibly, and I'll see you on the Daily Rideshare. Have a good one.